On this trip, I'll be sharing with you my kayaking adventure as I travel from the ranger station in Everglades City, Florida, all the way out to Picnic Key. And today begins a new adventure. This will be an adventure because I've never been kayaking before. I'm all set up to do some fishing with this fishing kayak. It's a Hobie Mirage Outback. I'm waiting for the park to open. They open at 8 o'clock so I can get my permit to do some camping. It's going to be hot. This is July in Florida. I've got plenty of water. I don't think I'll have to worry about crowds. So far the mosquitoes have been plentiful and I'm just getting started, so it should be a great trip. Okay, this is very interesting. We have a sable palm here, and you can see wrapped around it is this strangler fig. So they are just completely wrapped one around the other. I believe this strangler fig will continue to grow and it'll outgrow the sable palm and it'll create a big canopy over it. So in 10 years or so, this sable might actually die and the strangler fig will remain. Normally there's not much interesting about a trash can. However, I found this little crab crawling right on top of it. I should take him and use him for fish bait, but I will let him live another day. Hang of the kayak wasn't too bad, pedaling away. And I've got about another hour of outgoing tide, so it's pretty easy pedaling right now. And then I'll have some slack tide, so I should be able to get out there before the tide starts coming in. We'll see how it goes. So I've made it out to the channel. I've crossed the bay and I'm just entering the channel now. That was my shortcut. You can see the channel markers are pretty easy to see, so I shouldn't have any problems out here getting lost or finding my way. Pedaling for about an hour now, and just check the map. It looks like I am a third of the way there. So ostensibly I will have a 3-hour paddle to get out to the campsite. However, the tide is starting to turn. So I'm going to be against the tide for the next couple of hours. Hopefully it doesn't slow me down too much. I'm able to stay out of the channel, so the tide's not that bad yet. But it's one of those things you have to take into consideration when you're out on the salt water. The ranger station didn't open until 8 a.m. So even though I got here at 6, I couldn't get my permit and I couldn't depart till after I got my permit. So I didn't get out of there till about 8:15. That puts me going against the tide before I get to the campsite. But so far, we're doing all right. Progress is definitely slow against the tide, but I am making progress. Some dark clouds up there. I'm hoping I can get to my camping site before I start seeing lightning, because I don't have a lot of options to bail out. It's interesting when you're going solo. You have to think about things a little bit differently, and your risk calculations change. You know, if I'm out with a group of people and I capsize a kayak, it's kind of funny, everybody gets a good laugh. But when you're solo, if you capsize and you get separated from your kayak, it can become an emergency situation. Same thing, cramping up. You know, if it becomes bad, you know, you've got to find a way to bail out. It's not that easy out here. So I'm just taking it easy, not in any hurry, trying to make sure I stay hydrated. A little bit of cool air coming from that storm. So that's good news and bad news. So we'll see if it'll hold off till I get to the campsite. So I'm in my turn off, so it's a little bit more quiet back here, not as many boats. The water is calmer. So I'm able to paddle nice and easy, make my way through the mangroves. Very pretty. It's hot, but it's not unbearably hot. One of the things that I've realized is that because I'm fighting the tide and I'm trying to make some time, I'm not fishing. I believe that is Picnic Key. And if my map is correct, or if I am correct in reading my map, once I get around this corner, I should see some sandy beach, which is where we can make camp. A few more minutes. I think this is going to be home for the night. So Some sandy beach. Sneak up in the trees a little bit maybe. We'll pull ashore and see what we can find. This is very nice. Oh, it feels good in the shade as well. I think we're gonna make camp right back in here. Perfect spot. Okay, so the first order of business, I made some lunch. It's rehydrating now. I got some mac and cheese. Got a thermos with water in it. Got another bottle of water. I got some electrolytes. Got a chair and some shade. I'm just gonna kick back, get some nourishment, and relax a few minutes. See, this cloud is forming, getting kind of dark. So we might get some nasty weather. I can certainly hear the thunder. Hopefully it goes a little bit east of us and I miss it. I got here at 11:45 and it has been thundering ever since. And just now it is starting to rain and it is 3:45. So 4 hours I've been sitting here reading a book, kind of taking it easy, staying out of the thunder and the lightning. 4 hours later we get a little bit of rain. So we'll see how bad it is. Well, the sky looks pretty good if you look to the west. There's actually a boat out there fishing with all this thunder, but you can see the clouds are pretty dark right above me. They've kind of been hanging out there for most of the day. Breeze is picking up. So I'm kind of in limbo, hanging out, relaxing and reading, which isn't the worst thing. I had a pretty grueling ride out here with the heat and my first time on a kayak, but I have recovered pretty well. I feel pretty good, and I just made a snack. I'm going to sit down and eat a little bit as I tuck back into my little holler back here and wait to see what the weather does. Now that the sun is going down, get a little bit of, respite from the heat, I have moved my sleeping arrangements out here onto the beach. There's much more of a breeze out here, so it should keep me cooler, maybe keep some of the bugs away. I left the tarp up in the woods in case it rains. I can grab my chair and go duck up underneath the tarp if I have to in the middle of the night. So this is what low tide looks like. I was hoping to leave tomorrow around low tide, so I could ride the tide in. It'll be a little bit challenging to get the kayak out. I might leave a couple hours before the low tide hits. But you can see how far it is to drag the kayak. Not insurmountable. A lot of rocks, pretty muddy. I can make it work. Just got to be mindful. Well, I'm off and running. It is much earlier than I anticipated. I was hoping to catch the outgoing tide, but the no-see-ums were so bad they were eating me alive. I didn't even stop and eat breakfast. I just loaded up, came out here. Hopefully I can get a little bit of a breeze and keep them off of me. So we'll see how today goes. If it starts looking like clouds are going to form, I might just beeline it back to the boat launch. Hopefully I'll get some fishing in though. It's very quiet back here along these mangroves right now. I'll be up towards the channel here in a little bit. It's kind of nice, very, very calm. It's quiet. I can see fish jumping. I saw a manatee, a few birds around. Very pleasant experience. I'm out here and it's calm, peaceful. There's no breeze. It makes me think about the history of this area. And some of the stories, I'm no historian, but some of the lore. The Seminole Indians would hide out in Big Cypress and down around 10,000 Islands back during the Seminole Wars in the early 1800s to 1850s. and they would send the Navy in looking for them. You can imagine how hard it would be to find somebody who knew their way around all these islands. I think they called the Navy patrol boats that came in here, they called them the Mosquito Squadron. Well-earned name. And later during Prohibition, they would have stills down here, and the boats would come down here and load up. They'd make the run up to Tampa Bay, again dodging in and out of the islands, trying to avoid law enforcement. There were a lot of squatters down here, 1800s, early 1900s, and the story goes that up on Panther Key, one of the squatters went out there and started raising goats. The panthers came and ate all of his goats. That's how it came to be named Panther Key. Not sure how true the story is, but that's the lore anyway. But this was a pretty rambunctious place back in the day. When you look at when they were settling, they came down here and they killed so many alligators. And they would shoot the birds and use the feathers for the hats for the ladies up north. They were just decimating the population. They would overfish it, the tarpon that they would string up and kill. It was really kind of sad, kind of the worst of what humanity can bring to an environment. But people recognized it, and there was a movement, and they stopped hunting alligators, they stopped shooting the birds, and the fishing is much more controlled. And back in, I think it was 1947, Truman signed to have the Everglades National Park come into existence to protect this fragile ecosystem. So it's got to be one of his best legacies of leaving behind, because this is an amazing place. You need to know your way around here if you bring a power boat. You can see I'm out in the middle of nowhere, and I just ran aground. So it's got down to about 10 inches deep. I can't imagine somebody coming through here on a motorboat and running up on that. Okay, I'm halfway back, and I've got a little bit of a tide with me, I think, or at least the wind. I'm certainly not going against the tide. But as you can see, it's a little bit overcast, so I think I'm just going to head back in. My guess is thunderstorms are going to start to develop around lunchtime. The good news is it's providing some respite from the sun beating down on me, so it's actually been pretty easy. I'm just really taking it easy, going slow, let the current help me out a little bit. So it's a pretty relaxing ride so far. You get a good look at the mangrove trees and the root structure. See how they hold these islands together. Okay, end of the adventure for the weekend. I've been watching people with their fishing kayaks, and they've gotten really popular, so I wanted to give it a try. So I went 6.8 miles out, 6.8 miles back. So that's a pretty good test run.